Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard. And we, again, have a loaded show for you this week. I thought last week's show was wild and crazy with all the rumors and everything going on over Valentine's weekend, as I talked about, just all the alerts and people talking and whatnot. And this week, it started out, kind of the same thing. The Ducks playing the Wild and losing these games. The first one, just kind of the way things went. It's just what we've seen all season. But then, of course, this next weekend comes up, and all hell breaks loose again. We have the Henrique news that he's placed on waivers. Then we have Trevor Zegras being called up. Pretty much a roller coaster weekend again of a bunch of things going on. So we're going to cover all of that. We're pretty much going to dive into it right away. We'll kind of cover some of the games in there, but plenty to talk about because those things all happened in between them. We also have another podcast poll that we'll talk about with Eakins and his ice time management of Zegras. A lot of you are not happy with that. And then we'll talk about the outdoor games as well that came up, and tons of fan questions to get to. So, cracking up, Eddie. Just another week, of craziness going on. The Ducks, obviously not playing well, as we've talked about. They went into this game against Minnesota, the first one. They ended up losing this one 3-1. They didn't play horribly, but I guess the bad thing about this game is not only that they lost, but Hampus Lindholm was hurt as well, and he got knocked out. So the Ducks continue to lose, and as we talked about, their blue line has been the strong point of this season for the most part, and losing one of their top four does not help, going into the rest of these games, as we'll get into throughout the show.
Yeah, I think we had a fan question a few shows ago where he asked what could the Ducks do to ever get national, not support, but more national coverage, news coverage from the league and everywhere else. So I think Murray's doing that of what he's doing. First, we had all the trade rumors that blew up. Then we had Henrique going on waivers and the call-up of Z. So whoever asked, I totally forgot who asked it, but whoever asked it, you got your wish, because the Ducks have definitely made some headlines in the last few weeks. That first game, I don't know, Mike. I don't know about you and how other fans are thinking, but some of these games are getting really hard to watch. And I think it's just hard sitting there trying to really dive into these games when the Ducks are playing so horribly. And not just that, I get it. They're in that rebuilding mode, but it seems like there's no heart at all to these teams. And what frustrates me the most is they show glimpses of like the flashes of greatness. You could see where they could possibly to jump up and steal these games and make some good plays and actually play a little more grit and the heart, but they just keep letting us down. And then this game, yeah, you get a beautiful goal from Sam Steele, a little spin around goal, which is just amazing. And just, he's been kind of slumping, so a goal like that can really bring his confidence back up. It was great. And then you go ahead and lose Hampus Lindholm, who hasn't been playing that bad at all this season. It's just that's another just kick in the face right there to the Ducks.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's funny you talk about stealing games, and Sam Steele had a great goal in this one, got the Ducks back into it. They were down by 1. And you felt like they had a little bit of momentum at that point, and maybe they could have, stole a point or two in this game. And then, of course, the late goal there in the third period by the Wild pretty much erased any hope of that. But it's just been frustrating. And I agree with you. It feels like this team, we've talked about, not having an identity. And it seems sometimes to change. Like they'll play great in the first period and then poorly in the second period and then great in the third, or there's always like one period that we've talked about of the three that I don't know what goes wrong with this team. They just have like a malfunction or whatnot. And, it's strong words that you're talking about, with the no heart part. But I agree. It's like you watch some of these contests and they go through the motions and you're just kind of like, okay, guys, we know you haven't played for a long time. You're one of those teams in that group that wasn't in that crazy playoff thing during all the lockdowns and all that stuff. So, you get out there. It's, again, another shortened season. And, yeah, it's tougher. You got Vegas and Colorado now added to the division who are up there, just destroying it right now, playing very well. But the Ducks, at some point, they were, fourth, fifth place, hanging in there. Then they dropped towards the bottom of the division. It's not a lot of points out, like we've talked about. We're not really surprised that the Ducks aren't, a serious contender. But I think we would agree if the Ducks lost every single game and they played their heart out, gave it their all and exciting, I think, I would take that and watch that more than this where, yeah, they're losing more than they're winning. But I'm with you. For some reason, it seems like they need a wake-up call. I don't know necessarily what it is. It seems like after this game, going into the weekend, Bob Murray felt like that wake-up call was putting Adam Henrique on waivers, which, of course, basically comparing the last podcast, we talked about Valentine's Day and everything going nuts. Well, that's what happened on that Saturday. As soon as Henrique was placed on waivers, everyone's blowing up social media. I'm getting messages on my phone and whatnot, and everybody's wondering what's going on. So that was kind of Murray's response. He's talking about his quote in here. He says that Adam is not alone in this, but I think the other part of it is I'm tired of talking and waiting. We need results and difficult decisions must be made. I get it, but you want to send Henrique down on waivers? That's your message to the team? You're taking a veteran guy and then saying, we don't like the way you're playing, so we're going to send you down. But you're not alone in this. And Eakins echoes that too. That just doesn't sit right with me. I just don't. I don't know. And I think a lot of people out there, you listening, agree. You're going to say that, but then send him down. You didn't send anybody else down on waivers. We didn't really hear anything else about, certain players not performing as well and getting booted. It just seems kind of strange to me. I don't know if there's more going on outside of what the performance is on the ice, but what do you think, Eddie? No heart, and then Murray does this and sends him down on waivers. What do you think's going on?
I don't know what the hell Murray is thinking, and some of the stuff he said, he's just kind of delusional a little bit. Like, I agree with them though. I'm tired of waiting, and tired of waiting, and these results and difficult decisions must be made. Yeah, we're tired of waiting too. We're tired of hearing the same crap that you keep spilling out to us. Like, we're tired of it. Just stop talking. That's the best thing you can do for the Anaheim fan base. We already know what you're going to say. We don't care anymore. Yes, the first few years, it's like we had a glimpse of hope because you're a really good speaker and you just got us to believe the words that were coming out of your mouth. But now there's no actions to back up your words. It's the same situation, the same result. Like, I don't mean to sound negative, but I'm just getting tired of seeing this. It's annoying. It's frustrating. It's not fair to the team. It's not fair to your fans. It's just fans don't tune in to watch a team lose. And like you said, Mike, if they would have played with their heart and they had a different way to approach these games and they still lost, at least you could have some pride. Like, hey, we played our hardest. Obviously, the other team played better. They scored more goals than we did. They won. But you can't say that with these games. You're losing to teams like Minnesota and Arizona. You shouldn't be losing to those kind of teams that bad and letting those teams just kind of mop the floor with you. I see a lot of fans too saying, hey, why don't you bring the Gulls up and let them play the Ducks in a series? At this point, I think the Gulls might take the Ducks. It's nuts. The whole Adam Henrique thing too was a big shocker. I'm glad I didn't sleep in that Saturday too. I woke up at the perfect time. I wasn't like in the beginning when it all hell broke loose, but I was kind of like an hour after it. So I was like, oh, okay. I couldn't believe it at first. I thought someone was just blowing smoke up my ass or something. I'm like, okay, what's going on? But to put that quote out, Adam is not alone, that's just a big kind of F you to the player. Like, dude, you're setting a veteran guy on waivers. Yeah, he's not performing well this season, but you can't really fault that on him, especially when you're like one of your leading scorers is Carter Rowney for the season. That's obviously not a Henrique problem. That's a poor Murray choice problem. And as far as his contract, that's another poor decision that Murray made as well. he didn't have to give him that long of a term and make him kind of untradeable or unwantable. I think the waiver thing is a little excessive, and I can't see moving forward how this relationship can be salvaged and repaired. I think we can obviously be, saying our goodbyes to Henrique pretty soon. I think another team will try to make a bid for him. Obviously, we're going to have to swallow some of his cap, some of his salary for those years, or we're going to have to add an asset to it. But it doesn't seem like it's a relationship that could be fixed.
Yeah, I think that's the big problem. And that's what I talked about in my article when it came out, with the waiver thing on that day. And then, the Ducks went in, they played the Wild. They got destroyed in the second game against the Wild. I mean, a lot of people were cracking up. Oh, yeah, putting Henrique on waivers really helped, right? Because he didn't play in that game. Don't forget the Ducks didn't have Lindholm. They brought up Mahura in that game as well. We'll cover that in just a minute. But as far as the Henrique thing, the next day, of course, you had to wait 24 hours, right? So everybody had that news on Saturday. They played the game, which was probably one of the worst games of the year, this second one against Minnesota, when they just got blown out, 5-1. That game, I had people telling me that they actually turned off the game, and I watch them all, even when they're getting blown out. I mean, I stick there and I watch them so we can, post all our little things on there for Twitter for everybody and Facebook and whatnot, all the updates and everything. But, where do they go from here with Henry? Because as we talked about, when he was benched in the St. Louis, he played the one game, probably his worst game. Then he got benched the next one. Then we found out word that New Jersey was kind of interested, and that there were some trade rumors about Henrique. And then with this, nothing materialized. And you pointed out to it the contract, right? The $5.8 million for the next 3 years. Again, he was one of the best performers last season, but now this season he's not up there in terms of offense is what we're talking about, not just everything else, but when it comes to scoring and whatnot. He finally started getting a couple goals, but he hasn't been at the level that might be good in terms of trade market value, and that's what I'm talking about. I don't think Henrique has played terrible this season, in my opinion. I really don't. I mean, I think he's had some games where he hasn't played great. And yes, that St. Louis game was one of them. But I think the team as a whole has had issues. So to single him out and put him on waivers like that could have been a, hey, F you, like you said, Eddie, because, hey, we can't trade him. He has this big amount of salary, 5.8 for 3 years. If we waive him, maybe someone will pick him up and take him. And we mentioned that the Devils did have cap room to pick him up, and there were a couple other teams out there, but it seemed unlikely, and then obviously it didn't. And when I wrote that article, I said, well, he cleared. It looks like he's going to go to the taxi squad, and that's what happened. He's on the taxi squad. So I still think there's things out there in the works. He could be traded, anytime. But like you said, any kind of deal isn't really going to be one that Murray's going to like, because he's going to have to retain some salary. He's going to have to give up a draft pick or a prospect or something. He's going to have to do something. It's not going to be a 1-for-1 if he's going to trade him. So it puts this team in a bind, Eddie. And I think it's a bad situation all the way around, because you're saying he's not alone. You single him out. And, I mean, you're sending a message like, okay, he's one of the senior guys, and if you don't perform, you could be waived. I think that's too much. I agree with the benching. I don't agree with him being waived.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think he's played that bad this season. Obviously, his offensive numbers aren't where they should be or where they need to be, but that's as a team as a whole. You can't really have that responsibility all on Henrique's back for that. He is the number one center the Ducks have this season. Getzlaf would be number 2. But just the waiver thing was one thing, and I get it. It's business. Maybe we're speaking as fans a little bit more than business aspect of it. Okay, I can understand that, and I can get where that's coming from. What other fans want to talk about that business aspect too. What really pisses me off about the situation is that quote, Adam is not alone in this. That just pisses me off. That reminds me of an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever you guys, whoever listens to our female listeners too, or whoever you choose to date. When they break up with you and they say, hey, well, you know what, it wasn't me, or it's not you, it's me. That just made me think of that. Like, that's like the ultimate slap in the face, and that would probably piss me off the most. It did piss me off for the players, though, and that wasn't even me. And you best believe Henrique was a little bit happy to see the Ducks lose when he got this wave and he got scratched. He even liked one of the tweets I sent you from Ali Lozoff when they lost the game. She posted something about the post-game presser with Homer Simpson going back into the bush. He liked that, so obviously he had an eye on this game. But just to single him out and then say hey, he's not alone, it's just, I think it's absolute BS. It just furthers my feel of my dislikement toward Murray even more.
Yeah, I think it's a recipe for disaster. I think it's making more problems with this team as a whole. And then, we saw that happen. They go out and play the Wild again. And I had some mixed feelings with that game too. I was kind of like, I want the Ducks to do better. I want them to win. I don't want them to lose. But, they got smoked in this game. This was worse than the first one. They were down 3-0 in the beginning of the second period. You had David Backus back in there in the lineup, and he gets a goal, and that's like your only highlight of the whole game. The Ducks got destroyed in the face-off circle. They got blown out 5-1. They're going around hitting people. They're doing that, but this game, there's not a lot of good takeaways really from this one, other than you had Mahura up there, who actually got credit for the goal originally, and then it was later awarded to Backus. And Mahura's played fine in these last couple games, having to fill in with Lindholm out. And it's I guess that's a tiny bright spot, maybe, but there just hasn't been a lot to look at. So you see this game, and they keep on losing. Of course, the Wild, one of Eddie's teams he really loves, so they lose to both contests to them, and it keeps on sliding. Right, next day they have the waiver thing, and he clears the waivers. And then, of course, you get the news that, hey, Trevor Zegras is going to be called up. He's at practice. There's a good chance he's going to play in Arizona, which he does. And it's kind of funny, Eddie. Looking at everyone's reaction when Zegras got called up, there was even more skepticism. It was cracking me up. They, all of you, basically, when I was reading different comments throughout social media, were saying, okay, a lot of us were happy. Hey, bring up Zegras, some excitement to the team. The season's, not completely lost. Now it's going to be at least fun to watch and whatnot, which I thought the game against Arizona was very entertaining till the end. But some other people were saying, did they bring up Zegras just to try to, save Murray's, what? I thought that was interesting, or Eakins too, and now it's crazy because I think there's blood in the water, and everybody is taking shots at Murray. And now you can add Eakins too, and we'll get into that in the Arizona game in a minute because of Zegras and his ice time. A lot of people are very upset. A lot of you sent us comments and stuff. But what do you think? Do you think that calling up Zegras was a desperation move? Or do you think it was like, okay, let's give the fans what they want, or a combination, or what?
Yeah, it was pure desperation. And I'm not saying anything bad on Zegras. I think he's a fantastic player, and I think he deserves to be in the NHL. Just the way the games I've seen him play in the AHL, and then the game I've seen him playing in Arizona, he looks comfortable, especially given that some power play time. He looked like a seasoned vet on that power play. I loved seeing that. I think Murray just did it as a PR stunt. Just, hey, I'm calling him. I'm doing something for the team, because he got a lot of blowback from the Henrique, it seemed like. And he just did it for a PR thing. And I think he did it not for the player, not for the team. I think he mainly did it for himself. I think it was more of a selfish move than anything. Now, that's something against Zegras. I think he can stay up, and he can learn and benefit. However, like I posted on Twitter, I don't want him being part of that crap show that they call a team in Anaheim. I don't want him to get used to losing. I don't want that mentality. You're here to win games. That's it. That's your number one job should be, is to win games. And if you're not doing that, then you got to be figuring out ways to do it. It seems like the Ducks are comfortable and they're content with their losing ways, and I don't want that to rub off on Zegras, and I don't want those bad habits of some of the veteran players that we see rub off on him. He's going to be a great player. He's going to be a superstar in this league, and I want him to get used to that winning mentality and always be hungry for it. Just always want that steak and not just be content with a veggie burger or something. And nothing wrong with veggie burgers if you guys are just figure of speech.
I'm with you too. I love seeing him come up and play. I thought he did great in this game against Arizona. But I'm with you. It's all about the timing. So you have Henrique go down on waivers. He doesn't get picked up by another team. There's also the other part of that was Murray trying to do some other kind of trade, right? Did he have that cap space lined up for another move, and then it didn't work out? And so he's like, okay, well, crap, what do I do now? Well, let's just bring up Zegras, and everyone will be like, yeah, Zegras, like deflection, like squirrel,
Yep.
Over there. Here you go. Hey, here's our shiny toy, Zegras. Don't.
And it worked. And it worked for everybody.
And it did. Everybody, including us, we went nuts too. Posting stuff. Everybody's going nuts, right? People making jokes. Zegras sneezes and everybody goes crazy, right? So that's definitely part of it. I think that's the underlying story to this, and I think that part is kind of interesting because they were talking about bringing him up sooner. We had Tamu Solani was saying bringing him up sooner. He was liking the interview with Zegras. He was posting stuff, on social media. Weeks, exactly. You had all these people saying, okay, like, what are you guys doing? Like, free Z, bring him up. And he comes up in this Arizona game. And, man, like, talk about, like giving you like a ball of joy and then, like, just ripping it away from you. That's what this game against Arizona was. It's just so crazy. The first period, Ducks come out like going nuts, scoring goals. They got a couple power plays. Zegras had a fantastic pass to Raquel, almost scored. And then a couple fights too. We see Max Jones getting into it, chirping away. He dukes it out. Then we see Grant drops the gloves right after that. And even the beginning of the second period, the Ducks got another goal. They're up 3-0. And you thought, wow, okay, the Ducks are fun. They're entertaining again. You're seeing a more grit like we've talked about. They're actually doing stuff on special teams. Everything looks good. And then things just fall apart. They give up a bunch of goals. The Coyotes get back into it. They score all three in the second period to tie the game up, even with the controversial goal we'll talk about a little bit too, of that third one. And then they get the go-ahead in the third period and they win. And man, I mean, you just got to be like shaking your head. The Ducks were like shooting them out of the building in the first period. You thought they were going to blow them out. And when they were up 3-0, I thought the Ducks had a really good chance to win this game. And then by the end of the second period, you were sitting there going, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And then they couldn't pull it out in the third. I mean, this game was just, it was like a big tease, Eddie.
Oh, yeah. That first period was just going bananas. During the warm-up, though, the Ducks players looked a little more like they were having fun, looked energized, a little loose. I liked seeing that, and it kind of translated to that first period. But then they went back to their old ways, and they let that lead slip away from them. Like a three-goal lead, it should be almost a lock. And if not, you should be trying to get that fourth and fifth and sixth goal. You should, especially this season when you're having problems scoring goals. You should do everything in your power to score those goals. But that didn't happen in this period. I have to give credit to the Arizona Coyotes players, though. They did not back down from the Ducks. The Ducks were throwing their body around that first period, really out-hitting them, and they came up and rose to the challenge. I did like the fact that Kemper went after Jones. Larson was over there cross-checking Jones. Jones scores. He starts mouthing off to Larson, their captain, while he's on the ground. Kemper, without hesitation, went and got his captain's back. That's exactly what hockey players are supposed to do. Take notes for other Ducks players that didn't do anything and just give you a love tap when they went after Gibson, your best player, and not really rising up to the challenge for that. So I really have to give credit to them. And that Garland guy, too. I didn't know how tiny that guy was. He looked like 165 pounds. He's over there just being a little pest. He's a little piece of crap, dude. But, I like the way he plays. I wish the Ducks would play like that. They'd get more teams afraid of them. They'd generate more opportunities and scoring chances. That third period, I was like, okay, the Ducks might be turning it around. They got some energy going. And no, they just did a 180 from the first period, went back to their old ways and ended up losing. And to make insult to injury, you just don't play Zegras as much. You bring him up and just handcuff him. Let him do what he does. Like, yes, he's a rookie. I get that. But you know what? At this point, the Ducks aren't generating offense, and this kid loves offense. It's like a perfect match right there. Let him go out and do what he can do. You threw him in at the end of the game in a really high-stress situation. He rose up to that challenge, and he almost got a tuck. Like, and almost had the game. I think a little bit more shifts. Who knows? He probably would have got his first NHL goal, and he probably would have been that factor and at least made the game more interesting to get that tie. I don't know. I know a lot of fans just exploded after that. I know, like, and nothing against Delorier, but seeing him put on the second line and Zegras not, that just lit a fire under. I was surprised the fans didn't go with pitchforks to Honda Center over there.
Yeah, that was a big sticking point with a lot of people, was not just the fact that he wasn't out there as much, but then you had Grant and Laurier filling in different roles in there. And then more problems, I think, again, comments this time from Eakins that a lot of you got upset with. And I agree, was they talked about why Zegras wasn't out there, and he said, well, I didn't want to put pressure on him with those, defensive zone responsibilities and whatnot. And I mean, I get it. I get what he's saying, but it just seemed kind of weird. I mean, you had Grant that turned over the puck, and we, Eddie and I love Grant. Y'all know that, but he's not been playing well this year. Let's just be straight up. And then you have Delorier too in the mix for these defensive zone responsibilities. I'm like, are you serious? You're telling me that Grant and Delorier are better defenders than Zegras? I mean, maybe, but even if they were, I don't think it's much. I think Zegras actually held his own pretty well in that game. What I really think all that meant is I think it had to do with the Coyotes, like you said, coming back at the end of the first period physically and taking it to the Ducks physically from that point on. I think Eakins was concerned that if somebody took a run at Zegras, that's the underlying thing. That's just my opinion, what I think it is. I don't think it has anything to do with this defensive zone responsibility, because I think Zegras can handle himself defensively just as much as those guys, but he's just not a big body and a younger player. I think that's more of the concern there, and maybe Eakins doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know, but that's kind of something that, after thinking about it, I really kind of digested that game, looked at the comments with Eakins. I mean, yeah, I think it's true. He didn't want to put too much pressure on him, but I think the reasoning there, I think he's kind of telling a half truth. That's just my take, Eddie.
Yeah, well, if you're going to just bring him up just to kind of, babysit him and not let him, experience the NHL and kind of know what it takes to play the NHL, including being part of that physical game, then sit him or send him back down to San Diego. If you're going to handcuff him and not let him play to his full ability, then what's the point of bringing him up? Hey, we're going to bring you up, but we're going to sit you down once things start getting rough. Okay, that sends a message to every team in the league that's going to play against the Ducks. If you're playing against this team with this hot rookie right now that they just called up, just start throwing some body around. They'll bench him, and you don't have to worry about him anymore. Take him out. It's a factor. You can take that player out before he even starts getting hot. It's just I get that logic. I don't get that logic. I'm not even going to try to sit here and act like I get that logic. It makes zero sense to me. There's players that were smaller than him and younger than him that came up in the league and that were able to play those minutes and play that physical game. He did take the hit in his first shift. He got a pretty good hit from Chukrin or whatever his name is. I believe he took a nice little body hit. He didn't go down. He still stood up, skated, and he played well. I don't know. It's just I'm frustrated, just like a lot of you fans are, and regardless of his motive to bench him, it was the wrong thing. Yeah, I'm not a professional NHL coach or whatever, but you bring a player that has that much heat on him right now and that much just like spark. Let him go. Light the fire. Pump his tires a little bit. Like, that kid has a little cocky swag to him. Get that going. Get that puck in the back of the net. Get that puck on his stick. Let him create opportunities. Let his confidence get up. His mom and dad were in the building. I'm pretty sure he was trying extra hard too to play his even better game, knowing that his parents were in it, and not only his first NHL game. Especially in a time like this where fans aren't really allowed in buildings and his parents got that rare opportunity to watch him make his NHL debut. Let him run wild and see. Obviously, if he takes a few hits and he wasn't responding the way you think he should respond, then you can adjust your coaching thing. But I didn't see one hit or one physicality that would make me think that he can't handle himself at that point.
And I agree with you. I just think that maybe that was his reasoning. With them getting all physical and Jones fighting, Grant fighting, all the big hits, them getting kind of the Ducks' skin, maybe he wanted to pull him back a little bit for that. But me personally, I think Zegras can handle it. I think he can take it. I mean, like you said, I've seen him get a couple hits, and he seemed fine to me. Yeah, he's a little bit of a lightweight. Duh, he's freaking 19 years old. What do you expect? But there was another lightweight that came on the team, Paul Correa, and he did pretty fine for most of his career. And that's kind of who Zegras reminds me of in some aspects. With shooting, passing, skating, and all the things that he does. Very similar in certain aspects. And, Correa wasn't the biggest guy either. So if it's going to take Delorier knocking somebody out, or when Manson comes back, then, that's what you're going to have to do. I'm not saying that's why Eakins did that. I'm just thinking because the Coyotes changed the tone of the game at the end of the first period and carried it the rest of the way. Maybe Eakins felt, hey, we're up 3-0. I don't need him to go out there when the stuff's getting all chippy and rough, and we'll be fine. And then, of course, that blew up in his face because they came back in the second period and scored 3 goals. It's just something that I'm looking at here. And if you look at the numbers in the first period, Zegras was out there for 5 minutes and 15 seconds. 3 minutes and 18 seconds were on the power play. So he was out there for a good portion of the first period, and then it tapered off. After that, he barely played 8 minutes for the rest of the game. And he only had about a minute 20 on the power play after that. So you didn't see him as much after the opening there. He finished the night with 13 minutes and 14 seconds, +1, couple shots on goal, 8 minutes and 37 seconds even strength, 4 minutes and 37 seconds on the power play. He only got like a couple even strength shifts in that second period, I think like 1 or 2. That was really it. So that kind of led us basically to our next segment and our, what, did you have something, Eddie?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of end this game on a positive note. So I know we've been a little critical, which that's our job to do, is give you, our opinions on it. It's not always going to be good. But I think his interview with his parents, when they interviewed his mom and dad, I think it was the cutest interview, and they were so excited, and it made me excited for them and for him, just how humble, and they seem like really, really nice and caring people, loving people. That was really good to see. And also, I want to talk about his flow. That hair, holy crap, that's like... He already has a 10 out of 10 on that flow. That's another positive thing you can take from this game.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he seems like just a really good kid. He was raised...
Max Jones petting him.
Yeah, the whole hair thing in the beginning, the warm-ups was hilarious.
No bucket during warm-up either. Look, I like that cockiness that he has. That's a cocky move right there. If you don't know that's to go out there. I mean, like, I don't know, maybe him wearing number 13 in San Diego, it's kind of that Solani thing's like kind of wearing off on him a little bit to go out there in that warm-up with no bucket. But I liked it. I liked seeing that.
Yeah, I liked what I saw. I mean, yeah, I think he's confident. I don't think he's too much into himself. Like you said, a good interview. Seems like he has a good head on his shoulders. And I mean, he brought excitement to the game. I'm not going to lie. I mean, watching that game was one of the most entertaining games this season, despite them losing and falling apart there, especially in the second period. So he does bring that excitement and whatnot. And I thought the Ducks looked fantastic on the power play. That's where they're primarily trying to use him, which was great. But I also want to see him get it out there on that even strength minutes as well and get some more time, because you're messing up the chemistry when you're double shifting other players now and things like that. So that was the only little other, I guess, fallout point of not having him out there as much. But we did do a podcast poll question again. I throw it back to you guys to see, what do you think? Because I saw people commenting both ways. And we asked, what did you think about Eakins and how he handled Zegras? Did you think he was too cautious with his ice time or not? And the results might surprise you. I thought a lot of people would blow up and be like, yeah, they didn't play him enough, and, what the hell's going on, da-da-da-da. And the poll that you guys did, it was more of you thought that he should have, been out there for some more shifts, especially 5-on-5, but it was 60 to 40% in favor of him being out there more. I thought it would have been higher. So that's what you guys talked about. We had some good comments out there, and we'll read a couple of them, give some shout outs like we talked about. But we had Steven Yano. He talked about the 5-on-5 play and said, yeah, he was cautious with them. He thought it was okay having him out there. He really liked the fact that he had a chance to, quote, roam around on the power play, and that was a, quote, smart choice. So he liked that part. He thought a little cautious on the 5-on-5. Okay, like the power play. You had Dylan. He talked about giving him more minutes in the second period, which is what a lot of you echoed and were upset about. And he also thought he looked great in the first period. But, these are some people talking about this. There's other opinions too. Joel says he didn't want to see too much of him yet. He's afraid of him getting injured, which is what I talked about. And I was wondering if that was in the back of Eakins' mind or if Murray told him that or whatnot. But it was definitely something once the physical play turned up by Arizona. I wondered if that was a factor. Obviously, Eakins didn't bring it up. But again, just saying the defensive zone responsibility is why he didn't play him as much. I don't know. And then you also had Chad that said, he liked that he didn't play as much. He thinks you should start him out slow and then get him warmed up and get him going. And that he'll get his time. He said, quote, no need to rush. So what do you think about all those comments and how people perceive the minutes and whatnot, rushing him versus, trying to hold him back and trying to find that happy medium?
I mean, they're not wrong. Like at this aspect of it, no one's opinion is wrong, and no one's right. It's just one of those things of how you feel to see it. Like with my justification is, the Ducks are playing so poorly. Why not let him just do what he can do? You have players the Senators. Stutzel is a young 18 years old kid. He's out there, he's playing. He held his own. I think he was playing pretty decent over there with the Senators. It just puzzles me to bring him up and just kind of hold him back. That makes no sense for me. I don't know how you can kind of ease him in, throw him into the Lions Den and see what he can do. Like I'm sure, back when I was younger, how I learned how to swim is my brother threw me in the deep end, and I learned how to swim that way. I didn't start off just going in the little 3 feet thing and holding it and try to swim. No, that's not how I learned. I learned how to be thrown in the deep end, and once I learned I can float and I can move my hands and legs and paddle, I can stay up and I can swim. Same with here. Just throw him in there. Let him get those minutes. Yeah, let him prove that he belongs there. Let him prove that he can be an asset to the team. I know Chad mentioned too that he thinks that Zegras will be our future captain at some point in his career, and I agree. Of a player like that, he's special. I understand everyone's argument about that and not just kind of protecting him. Yeah, I feel that way too. I'm protective of him. He's a young kid. He's a player. He's our Ducks' future. One of the things we have hope for. But I wanted to see more of him. I wanted to see what he can really do. And I think that we didn't really get to see a lot of that because he was being handcuffed. I don't like that. Just go out there and play your game and see what you can do. And we can polish the game from there. After your first game, we can polish it. He even mentioned too in his post-game interview that on the power play, he kind of blamed himself for Raquel not scoring. He's going to go back and see what he can do better. That's just a player that wants to get better and wants to help his teammates. And he blamed it all on himself. Even though he had no control over that shot going in, he just made a beautiful pass. He still took that responsibility. He has that, like you said, he has a good head on his shoulders. Just hearing him talk, he's humble. Yeah, he has that cocky attitude. That's his play, and he actually, he plays great enough to have that attitude. I think he's a great player. But I don't know. I want to see more of him. I want to see more he can do. Just him just sitting on the bench cold and then going out there for a little bit. It's not going to help him. It's not going to help get him going. He's going to be stuck in that cold spot, being sitting for that long. I don't know. It's one thing I didn't agree with. I wish I would have seen him more.
Yeah, I think you used a good term there, talking about handcuffing him, and I think that's what a lot of you out there felt, especially in the second period. After, he had a really good start in the first period. And I wonder, too, if this game would have been different if Raquel would have scored on that pass and the Ducks would have gotten their other goals. If they would have gone up 4-0 like you talked about instead of just 3-0, they'd probably go on to win the game. I mean, going up, I don't know all the stats, but going up 4-0 against any team, it's pretty hard to come back from. You go up by 2 or 3, teams can still get back into it. So, just great chances there. He had a great chance at the end of the game to tie it up too. So I think it's appropriate talking about handcuffing him. And I think that's the concern that people are having going forward, is they don't want him to be restricted. And like you said, if he's going to be restricted, go down to San Diego. So our little good, bad, and ugly segment we talk about for this week would definitely be, the good would be bringing Zegras up. Right, the bad, not playing him as much as most people, or we would say, would want to see. And then the ugly, of course, is the Ducks keep losing, and I guess we'll just add Bob Murray back to it. I mean, that's been a big sore spot. And a lot of you are upset. You're upset about him. You're upset about Eakins. A lot of questions, especially with the Zegras stuff. You guys hit us up on Instagram. We'll go into this next part. I hate playing the blame game, but I guess that's kind of what's been going on recently amongst the fans. A lot of people are concerned, and rightfully so, right? We love this team. We want them to improve and do better. And as we've said, they've had a hard time finding their identity. They've had a hard time scoring offensively, doing things on the power play as well. But on Instagram, we had Celos D. He asked, do you think Eakins and Murray should be fired? We had Adam T-Town. He also asked, will there be a change in the front office? And Chef Williams 86 talks about making serious noise for getting rid of Murray. And we're beating a dead horse, but we gotta go over this because I think the fire is getting hotter on this subject, and now Eakins has kind of been thrown into it this last week. And I don't blame Eakins as much. I think he could have played Zegras a little bit more. I just don't fully think he's the issue. We went through the coaching issues with Carlisle coming back. I know me just mentioning that name makes some of you probably just like cringe, but he came into the fold again, didn't work out. You brought in Eakins, who was running a good system down there with the goals in San Diego, came up here, and it doesn't seem to have translated as much as we would want here, but a lot of this framework's set up by the front office. It's set up by Murray. And there's a laundry list of things that will go in a little bit that have kind of screwed some of this stuff up. So, is Eakins completely, innocent of everything? No, of course not. He's the head coach. But I would put more of it for me on Murray than Eakins as far as who should go. You and I have already talked about this. We already said Murray should go. So that's not a surprise. I don't know if there's more you want to add to that, Eddie, as far as what's gone on with Zegras and Eakins and stuff like that. But between the two, Murray was the one that's been here the longest and has built his team. So obviously he has to own it much more so than Dallas does.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying our coach needs to go, but at this point, the Ducks are just kind of digressed from last season. Like last season, you saw improvement from the season before, so we can bank on that. Yeah, they were still bad, but there was a little bit improvement in their game, which I liked. This season feels like it's worse than last season. It's like, okay, what's going on? You're supposed to be trending upward, not downward. You're supposed to be walking forward, not backwards. It doesn't seem like they're doing that this season. So I'm all for blowing everything up, blowing it all up. Let's hit that reset button, take the game out of the control, blow the game, put it back in, and see if it works. Obviously, whatever is happening and whatever is going on with the Ducks organization is not working, and you can just see it's going to spiral out of control, and it's going to be a Red Wings kind of Senators kind of a situation going on soon. I don't like it. We have to bring in a GM that could just do a complete overhaul, and if Eakins has to be that collateral damage and has to be fired over that, then so be it. Let that GM, like I said before, get his own system going and change the whole culture in Anaheim and get them to winning again. That's all that matters. Do I think he needs to go? No, I've said that before. But I want the Ducks to win. I want this team to be a championship team. I want to be able to celebrate a championship, a Stanley Cup, and to talk about that on the show, to be part of that. I don't want to be 90 years old still trying to jump on the DucksNPucks podcast if the Ducks are in a Stanley Cup final at that time. No, I want to be able to celebrate a championship and see my team win that championship soon. It's just I want to be there for that. And just the way things are going right now, and with Murray, like I said before, it's not going to happen as long as he's GM. At this point, I'm not going to be wrong. I'm not going to say I hope I'm wrong. I know I'm not going to be wrong. The Ducks will never win a cup as long as Murray's in town, and I say that. It sucks to say that, but it's the truth. So that's my take on it. I don't want to keep beating around like the same thing I say, but it seems like a topic that's coming up every single week, and I don't think fans are getting tired of it. Maybe I'm getting tired of hearing myself say it because I see no action, but I don't know. It gets me really frustrated, Mike, because I love hockey. I love this team. I shouldn't be getting annoyed and hoping for games to be finished so I can shut it off. And at some point, I don't even listen to some of the post-game interviews anymore. Yeah, I was excited yesterday. I watched so I could see what Zegras had to say, but other than that, it's just getting really, really hard to watch. Like this team, it's really bad. I watch other teams play. I watched the Senators play, and they're a terrible team. They're probably the worst team, if not, yeah, they are the worst team in the league. But they seem like they have a little more jump, a little more energy, a little more fun to watch, and they seem they play with a little more heart. And that's sad to say because they're a crappy team, but at least they know the direction they're going and they're not trying to throw false motivation quotes to try to get you all pumped up and make excuses for what's going on. They accept that their fate and they're working on it to better themselves as a hockey club, and I can respect that for the team. I wish the Ducks would be in that direction, but Murray just seems to like to do things for himself, it seems like.
Yeah, that kind of leads to this other fan question that we had on Instagram. We had L. Klaus says, is these past 3 seasons one of the worst era in franchise history, if not what year? When was the last time the Ducks legitimately had a chance to win the Cup? 2015. And I think there's a lot of truth in that, and it goes back to Murray. I mean, in 2015, we all remember Ducks were 1 game away from the Stanley Cup, and I'm sorry to dig a dagger in your heart, but and reminisce about this crappy series, with them losing those last couple games. But that was their last real big chance to make it. Yeah, they did go to the conference finals in 2016-17 and got knocked out by Nashville, but I don't feel they were as close there to do it. And now you're looking at how they're, gone since then. 17-18, make the playoffs. You get swept by the Sharks, embarrassing. 18-19, don't make the playoffs. 19-20, don't make the playoffs. Probably not going to make the playoffs this year, which we've talked about that. We said even if they squeak in at number 4, why? They're going to get knocked out by Vegas or Colorado. It's most likely who they would play. So, yeah, this era is not a good time for the Ducks. Is it the worst? I don't know about that. I mean, you can go back and look in history, 99 to 2002, those 3 seasons, 99, 2000, 2000, and 2001, and then 01 to 02. They were really, really bad in the Pacific. Just completely crazy losing records. And then, of course, 2002, 2003 is when they turned it around. We all know that. Another dagger, I guess. But, we went to the Stanley Cup and just missed it there, too. And then, ever since then, the Ducks were, pretty much making the playoffs almost every single season. A couple in there they missed. But, we had serious contenders, especially in those years leading up to 2015. We really thought the team was, we had high hopes. And now it's just completely flip-flopped, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. So, is it the worst era? I would say not yet. There's still more games to be played in the season, but it's definitely going to be a rough ride the rest of this season, Eddie.
Oh, yeah, and I would say it's the worst. And maybe other teams in the past had worse records and things like that, stat-wise, but it just, those teams in the past played with that grit and played a little more heart than I'm seeing this team play, and that's sad to say. And that kind of just hurts me to say that. I don't want to say that, and I don't want to question anyone's heart to the game, because that's probably not the case. These players are probably have a lot of heart in it. It's just the way it shows on the ice, it doesn't seem like it. It's just really sad and frustrating to watch. And I'm sure a lot of fans are the same way. When it comes to these games, you're just getting really frustrated. I see you guys posting on Twitter and all the stuff that you tag us on, which thank you for it. We love the conversations, but we can see your frustration. We hear it. It's just it's one of those horrible things. And then to make insult to injury even worse, with this whole contract thing, a lot of fans aren't being able to watch. I know one fan mentioned that he was following along DucksNPucks for the clips and stuff. I forgot his name. Sorry about that, but that's not fair either. So it's like, okay, you're giving a crappy product on the ice for the fans that are watching, but the fans that aren't watching have to hear us complain about it and talk about it, which we're us on Twitter and stuff, we're probably making it a lot worse than it is. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know, Mike. It's bad, and something needs to change drastically with this Ducks team. It's just it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, I agree. And for the people that can't watch the games, that's even worse. Like you said, and then you got to go on social media and then try and find posts or some illegal streaming website or whatnot. Very frustrating. I think the only other part of this that I wanted to touch on, because it seems like a lot of people aren't touching on it, is the owners. We had one Instagram person, John Gibson's back, said he heard rumors about issues with the ownership. I haven't heard any rumors with the ownership, so I'm not going to go there on that one. We've already had enough rumors from last week's show, so I don't know about that. But to me, they're not completely innocent in this either, or lacking responsibility. I mean, you have Murray in there, and you're letting him do what he's doing right now, and I don't know if they're not paying attention or they don't think it's as big of a deal or what, but I mean, they're the ones that have to look at this and have to know that the fans aren't happy. And this team, something's wrong. The mojo's not there consistently. We've seen it in some games and stuff like that. And I don't know. Something's got to be fixed. But, I mean, like we said, people are like, oh, is Murray going to be gone? I don't think so. I don't think the owners think he's a major problem. And I think that is part of the problem, is that they don't see him as being a big issue. And if they don't see him as being a big issue, I don't see him. I mean, he's going to be here for a little bit more with his contract. I think until the owners really think it's a big issue, I don't see Murray going anywhere, Eddie.
Yeah, and I don't understand how the owners could sit back and let this happen. Like, I own things and I expect it to work properly. They own a team. That team should work properly. It should be going back to winning ways and doing whatever it can to get to that winning product on the ice. It just seems they're not, I guess, cutthroat enough. They're not. I don't know how they deal with confrontation, but in this game and professional sports, you have to be competitive. You have to want more. You have to have that killer instinct. If you hire someone and they're not giving you their job, or they're not giving you a product that's going to win on the ice, fire them. I don't care if they have 20 kids and that's their own source of income. That doesn't matter. This is a competitive game, and the number one priority and number one thing on their mind should having a working product and winning. Obviously, they're content with what's going on. They're just sitting back. I don't know if that's. I'm just speculating. I'm just saying throwing up my opinion. I don't know. Maybe they're breathing down Murray's back. That's why he's making these moves. I have no idea. But to let this happen for so long and not really drastically doing anything about it, it just speaks volumes of your guys' character as owners of the team. Because I'd be pissed if I were an owner and my team was performing the way it is. And you think these players and these owners and Murray, you think that they're not checking out all these blog sites, all the other people that have their blog sites, they're reading all this crap. They're putting their name on the little search bar and seeing what people are saying about them. It's human nature. Everyone's curious. Curiosity. It's just, I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's something, I have no idea. I want it to get fixed, and I want it to get fixed soon.
Amen. And you're right. They do look at the stuff we post. I've talked to Bob Murray about some of that stuff. So, yeah, he does look, and he doesn't get happy when he sees certain things.
Oh, he probably hates me.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm just trying to be honest. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say what I think you want to hear. I pride myself on saying what I want. Not what I want, obviously. I'm not going to get in trouble again. But no, if it's on my mind, I have an opinion. I want to say it. And obviously, it's just, some people agree with it, which is fine. Some people don't, which is fine too. It's just, I'm here to talk and give my opinion, and not just, give everything the half full statement and the stuff you want to hear. So maybe if he listens, maybe I'm being a little critical, but hey, winning to me is important. Being the best is important. I strive for that in my life now, and I want my team to strive for that. And not just my team. I want every team in the National Hockey to strive to be their very best. That's what makes it competitive and fun to watch.
Again.
But screw Minnesota. I'm sorry. I had to say screw Minnesota.
Yeah, and the Kings. And for me, the Kings, right? Or everybody, the Kings, the Sharks.
Oh, yeah. And they have a 5-game win streak, too. And Kopitar's tearing it up. It's like, man, it's like I want to just go and put my head in the toilet and give myself a swirly.
Well, alrighty then. With that image, we do have more fan questions to cover. But before that, one of the sponsors I talked about on last show is actually sponsoring this show. And the next couple shows, it's Manscaped. They actually gave Eddie and I their product. We tried it out. Tell you a little bit about them real quick, and then we'll go into more fan questions and league news and wrap up the show. But they're supporting this show, Ducks and Pucks. Like I said, brought to you by them. And they're the best in the men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience. It's trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. And we have an offer for you too, to our listeners, 20% off and free shipping. If you go to manscaped.com, put in your order and then put in DucksNPucks as your code there. So check them out. I got the product and Eddie got it too. I've tried it already and I like it. It's very helpful. It's easy. Just make sure you put the little guard there on the razor. Use that first, and then use it. Because I heard some people telling me that they used it without the guard, and were like, "What the heck?" And I'm like, "Man, you got to do how it's shown on there. Use it the right way." But no, in all seriousness, it's a great thing. I used it. I know it's mainly supposed to be around the men's private area, but I also use it on the small part of my back. I mean, maybe TMI for those of you out there, but I have that little part there too. So I used it. I thought it was great. And I think it's funny. One of their little talking points that is hilarious is they say, don't use the same trimmer you use on your face as your balls. That's just nasty. So check them out. I think it's hilarious. It's a good product. I've used it. And yeah, I mean, I know, Eddie, you haven't used it yet, but I know you like the presentation of what they sent.
Oh yeah, it was just awesome. Like the box was just like with me, I analyze every little detail of things, and the whole presentation of it was awesome. My buddy that lives with me, my roommate, my best friend, my brother, I love him. The only complaint he had from this was that we didn't offer him a discount code when he bought his a few months ago. But he said he loves it, and the best advice, since I haven't used mine yet, I've been busy. He said, just take your time, guys, girls, whoever uses it, whatever, whoever can use the product. He said, just take your time when you're using it in those below areas, because he learned how to learn the hard way. But thank you for sending me our kit. I'm looking forward to jumping into this and using it. I did rock the shirt though, and I love the little slogan, "Your balls will thank you." I think that was the funniest thing in the world. And when I posted this picture on social media, I just totally forgot that slogan. I posted it on my Facebook, and I forgot my mom, and I have my family on there. I'm like, oh, great. I posted a picture saying, your balls will thank you. I posted on my story. Luckily it was my story, and I looked, so my mom didn't see it, which was cool. So I posted another picture with kind of like covering that spot, because I don't want my mom to see, your balls will thank you. I don't want my mom knowing I shaved my balls. That's kind of weird. That's TMI. But thank you, Manscaped. Go ahead and check them out. Save 20% off, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, it's so far so good. So with that, let's get back to some of these questions, and then we'll talk about what happened around the league. We had some outdoor games as well, and then wrap up the show. More of you guys asking about Zegras type stuff. We had one from GSOTS. He asked, who do we want to see Zegras play with? I thought he did fine with Sam Steele and Silverberg in that game. The one player I would like to see him hit the ice with is Comtois. I think that would be exciting to see those two at least out there. So that's at least them two on a line playing, and maybe with Silverberg too or whoever. But I want to see those two and just kind of see what kind of chemistry that they could develop, Eddie.
Oh yeah, I would definitely want to see them too. You know what? Throw Delorier in that line too. Just get some more beef on that line. Let other teams know, hey, if you're going to take runs that are, our scorer or our rookie, you have to deal with him. And I don't think a lot of players in the league want to fight Delorier. But I would definitely want to see Zegras and Comtois on a line together. And I think it can make some magic. One person loves the score. The other one can make sweet passes. It's a match made in heaven and get some offense going.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, that's what we look to see in these next couple of games, who he's paired up with. Maybe it changes up. We had, hey, it's Chris on Instagram talking about Hakanpää's emergence, which I do like. He's been playing well. And he says, do you think Manson is available? Basically for a trade is what he's saying. And what could we get for him? This one's tough because I know people bring up Manson. And then I forgot there was that funny quote where they're like, you don't trade your own son or something like that with Manson because Murray likes him so much. I don't know if they would, because again, the issue with this team is having that stay-at-home physical defenseman, and the Ducks don't really have that right now. I mean, Manson's been out, and there's nobody there. So I think that's the thing. Is if you had another one on the team, then yeah, I could see that. But as of right now, I just don't see Manson going anywhere. At least for this season.
No, I can't see it either. Manson, we definitely need him. The Ducks get rid of him, it's going to make them even that much more worse and less gritty, which we desperately need. I think he's been dealing with some injuries that's really kind of cuffed him the last couple seasons. I think once he gets back to form, he'll get to that top 4 defenseman like he's used to, bringing that grit and that stay-at-home kind of defenseman kind of style, kind of put some punishment on the teams, not letting players or other players get in front of Gibson too much and answering the call, especially when you hit Gibson. He'd probably be the first one to jump in there and make you pay, get some hell. So I'm looking forward to him coming back, but I don't think he would. I don't think he's going anywhere. But who knows? They waived Henrique the other day, so who knows what Murray's thinking and what's going to pop up in his mind, or if he just throws darts at numbers and whatever number pops up, he's going to blame that person for it. Who knows?
And we had another question about Manson too. We had Ann Cosby too. She asked, when is Manson going to come back? And we actually just had some updates on him and Lindholm. They've been skating with the team at practice. They did go on the road trip. They haven't said when they're going to return, but it sounds like Lindholm is closer to returning than Manson, according to what Eakins is saying. So that's where we're at. And also, Rowney is still out as of now. Hasn't practiced since taking that nasty hit in that last game. So that's kind of where we're at with the injuries. The other part of this weekend, which was actually the fun part, but also I guess crazy, this NHL weekend was nuts, at least for the Ducks, right? When you had Henrique getting waived, you had Zegras coming up, and then you had 2 outdoor games. And you had the longest intermission in the history of the NHL. I was really looking forward to this Vegas-Colorado game. And if you guys remember, after the Henrique news, that game came on. That game was supposed to be on before the Ducks and Wild game. It started, then the ice fell apart, and then I watched that game after the Ducks Wild game. So Saturday was a crazy day of hockey with everything going on. And then I did watch the Bruins and Flyers the next day. I turned it off once that game got out of hand because I was just kind of over it. But I had mixed feelings about this, Eddie. I liked it. The scenery was obviously fantastic. The lack of fans I did not like, of course. It's given the situation. But I felt the ice thing, it just was a big cluster. And I think with everything going on right now, that maybe they should have waited until they could have had some fans. I know that location where they're at, they're right there by the water. You couldn't have a ton of fans. Maybe they could have moved it a little bit back or whatnot. But I don't know. I enjoyed watching it, but I just felt like maybe it was too rushed, or maybe the planning wasn't the best because the ice was terrible. People were flopping all over the place after that first period in the Vegas-Colorado game. And obviously they played it later in the day, and then of course the next day they played that game later as well. So the sights were exciting and all that, but I think it was kind of a swing and a miss overall. That was just my opinion.
Yeah, it was a beautiful backdrop, beautiful scenery. I really wish they would have had fans. Yeah, I get it. They chose that location because they weren't going to be able to have fans, but to have something that's special and something different, they needed some fans. That was their own personal mystery, Alaska. And fans, it would have been the ultimate fan experience for some fans. They could even just gave a certain amount of tickets away to first responders if you wanted to do that, just to have some people there. I think that's an experience that would have been awesome. It's just great. And I think the only bad execution was they didn't have fans for that. Especially an outdoor game. It's outdoors. If you want to have fans, it's kind of social distance, whatever. It's the perfect spot. You're outdoors. But whatever, I don't make those decisions. If they did, I'd be playing on Mars or something. But I don't know. You know what? I think I'm the only person that was kind of happy that it got delayed for that 8 hours, because I was still kind of rushing everything. I was covering this game for Denver Avs page. So I was like, okay, I need to cover this game. I can go to the gym for an hour and a half, get back, and then watch the Ducks play to do the recap for the Ducks. But then this whole delay happened, so hey, I have more time to go to the gym. So I'm like, cool. So I had to get my full workout in. And I think it was kind of cool. You have playing the first period where it's supposed to happen, and things change. 8 hours later, you're playing dark. I don't know. I liked it. I liked the way everything worked out. I like the fact that the Avalanche won, and that's their first outdoor game they won. They lost the one against Detroit several years ago, which I was there, my first Stadium Series game, which was awesome. I had tickets to go to the Ducks and Kings. My grandma passed away, unfortunately, so I couldn't make it out to that game, so I made up for it for that. They lost against the Kings, last season, which was terrible. So it's good to see them finally win, and beating Vegas. Good job, beat Vegas, and thank God Vegas didn't wear those atrocious gold helmets. That would have been bad. But yeah, I think, and the Bruins just put a spanking on the Flyers, and it was cool seeing the Bruins like dress up in that retro look, embracing it, and I think it was fun. I forgot the guy's last name, Nick, something with the C. That guy was an MVP of the freaking weekend that works for NHL because he was posting videos and clips and pictures. He was all over it. It made it more enjoyable. Like I was there. Like the pictures he was posting, the angles he was posting at, he brought that to all of us fans that weren't be able to go there because we couldn't go there. So that was kind of cool to see. I'm really glad that the hockey and the NHL did something outside the box, and they did something different. That was really cool. I'm pretty sure people that didn't even like hockey were like, "Hey, they're gonna play outdoors, by the lake." It was something different, and I hope they continue with it. I just hope that they have some fans that can go along with it. And who knows, maybe the Ducks can get an outdoor game in a neutral location somehow. Hopefully, if they get a little better and keep making, I don't know, Zegras make some splash or something. Who knows? Keep pissing off Arizona. They can have their own little outdoor game somewhere.
Yeah, those outdoor games, that's one thing that does kill me. It's like the Ducks had that one against the Kings and then nothing. It's like, why don't they have...
Chicago had like 27 of them.
Yeah, why not have the Ducks and the Kings at Angel Stadium, or the Ducks and the Sharks at Angel Stadium? Like, I mean, come on, or...
Well, I know... I had that article, that great idea. The Ducks, it was their anniversary winning the Cup. Why not do like a rematch game with the Senators and the Ducks at that Angel Stadium? When I mentioned that years ago, you could have those like alumni game, bring the old school players back from each team, played before. I think that would have been a decent idea. It would have got some coverage, kind of a revenge, not revenge game, but I don't know. I just want to see the Ducks play outdoors, so I want to go watch them. I don't care where they play. I don't care who they play. If they play Minnesota, I'll even go over there and be happy to be in Minnesota.
Yeah, just another outdoor game would be exciting. One thing I did do or did like about these games were those retro jerseys. I really liked Colorado's, of course, because if you know, they used to be the Quebec Nordiques, so I like those throwback. And I know some people don't, I guess, maybe have mixed feelings, but I like the Vegas red jerseys. I think they look pretty cool. I like that look, minus any gold helmets, obviously, but I like those. So when they came out with those, it looked really good. I just thought that was a part that was kind of cool in that game, despite, like we said, all the other stuff going on. So hopefully we'll see more of these in the future next season with fans and whatnot. But that was kind of a little bit of a change the weekend. Something if you watched it, great. If not, then is what it was. But I guess the only other little news that we have to wrap up, it's kind of serious stuff, I guess, but we had some stuff in New York, Eddie. I know you want to just touch on it real quick before we wrap up the show.
Yeah, speaking of New York, too, like when I found out Henrique cleared waivers, I was a little afraid to go to sleep that night because I was just thinking, like, okay, how can Murray piss off this fan base even more? And then I just expected the next day, Tony DeAngelo to the Ducks for Adam Henrique. It's like, that would have just sent everyone. There would have been riots in Anaheim. There would have been riots. Like people would have just lost their minds. Like if they would have called Zegras up and then not played him or sent him back down, people would have lost their minds. But thank gosh that didn't happen. But it seems like New York's having another issue, off ice issue. With now it's Panarin's getting some battery allegations thrown on him from 10 years ago, saying he struck a woman in a nightclub. He went on leave from the team. This has all happened after he made some political statements against Russia against Russian's president, Putin. He made some unflattering statements about him. You guys can go look him up and see what he said. It's one of those things now. I keep mentioning it. We don't pay for you guys to give, or these players to give their political comments, their political opinions. If I want to hear that, I'll go listen to one of these these political analysts that talk on TV. I'm pretty sure they're everywhere. I try to avoid that, but this is another example. Keep your politics to yourself and out of the media. However you feel, you can discuss it amongst your family, your friends, but there's no need for it. We don't want to hear it. We don't tune in to hear this. And now it just came to bite him in the butt. Did he hit the woman? I don't know. I wasn't there. Some people are saying he didn't. Some people are saying that it's just some attack because he went after the Russian president. But what really gets me about this story, Mike, is he took a leave of absence from the team for this. So if you're not guilty of anything, like why not just brush it off? Like, hey, I know I didn't do anything. I know I wasn't wrong. That's what's that's kind of bothering me about this situation. But you know what? This is one of these situations where Ducks fans can be happy. Like, hey, at least our team don't have to deal with off ice issues like this. Like New York has to deal with their other teams that for some reason find themselves consistently on the off-ice radar. So that's one positive thing I can say about the Ducks, and that's one prideful thing that we can say is our players know how to conduct themselves off the ice great, and there's never any issues. And you know what? They're humans just like everybody else. I'm pretty sure they've had some issues that they handle it internally and didn't let it get bust out of control, or they didn't act unprofessional out in public where it got them on that radar and got that negative thing and kind of tarnish Anaheim Ducks name. So I'm glad that happened, and I'm glad there's no issue with that. I know Milano had an issue back in Columbus, but it's just one bar fight, one mistake, and it's swept under the rug, and no one cares about that anymore. But it's just New York going with Tony DeAngelo now this. It's just like, man, you guys, what next? Stuff comes in threes. Like, oh, well, what do you need next to happen? But I guess that's, like I said, one thing that I'm really happy about Ducks, that we don't have to deal with this off-ice issues. And I'm actually knocking on wood now because I don't want to jinx that luck.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. All the stuff with the Ducks, I mean, yeah, we're upset. Of course, we're passionate. We love our team. But the stuff we're talking about is on-ice stuff, performance stuff. At least we're not talking about crazy other stuff. Or like, remember all the stuff the Senators were going through and everything. Now you got New York's going through this stuff, right now, and all this, crazy stuff like you talked about. So yeah, that is a thing to think about, to kind of put it in perspective. Not making light of everything that's going on in Anaheim, but at least we're talking about the team trying to win and how they're doing on the ice. So think about it that way. So. We'll wrap up the show. I've got a couple reminders too for you. We are teaming up with Mercury Insurance. They are having their Super Ducks Fan contest. So if you want to enter that and win, you can go on their website. They're giving away prizes to the biggest Ducks fans. You can go to mercuryinsurance.com/Ducks, and that's your chance to prove if you are the world's biggest Ducks fan. You can also on social media post videos and photos, and you use the hashtag #MercuryDucksSuperFan as well. And there's a lot of good stuff on there, Eddie. I don't know if you checked it out, but they have like a big flat screen TV. There's like autographed stuff, and there's jerseys. There's a lot of good stuff that people can win on there. And if you're a subscriber to us, we're going to give away a puck and a jersey. We'll have some details on our stuff we're going to do in a little bit. But it's a great contest to enter, Eddie. And I think it's something to try and get fans pumped up, especially with this season, the way everything's going.
I don't know what I like more, those jerseys or the TV. I don't know. I've been kind of a jersey collector as of late, but that's a pretty good giveaway. They're really swinging out of the park with this one, or swinging out of the rink, if you want to say. Change the words. I'm thinking about baseball. I don't know why. I don't even follow baseball, nor really like it, but it's kind of weird. But yeah, good for them. I'm glad that we can team up with them. We can pass the puck around, and hopefully one of you fans can score that lucky goal and get that TV and jerseys.
Yeah, so check it out. Like I said, mercuryinsurance.com/Ducks. We also wrote an article on it. If you didn't see it, so you can go to Ducks and Pucks on there. We talk a little bit more about it, and make sure you subscribe to the show on any of the Podomatics, Spreaker, whatever. We're everywhere that we can be. So just make sure you're on one of those as a subscriber, and we'll give some contest rules in the next couple shows about how we're going to give away that stuff. And we thank Mercury, obviously, of course, for allowing us to give away that stuff to you. And like we talked about earlier, this show was brought to you by Manscaped. You can get 25% off and free shipping with the code DucksNPucks at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping at their website. And like we said, use that code DucksNPuck. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So there's that as well. And also check out tpnhockey.com. We do have our free Z shirt up on there. I guess it has different meanings now, because before it was free Z to, bring them up to Anaheim, and now it's free Z to give them more ice time. So look for that. Like I said, tpnhockey.com. And again, I just want to thank everybody that's worked on our website, helping us out. Talked about Thomas doing a lot of the San Diego Gold stuff. He's come on the show before. George had a good article recently talking about a lot of these issues with the team. We also have Logan, who's been writing some stuff as well. And then Aaron and Mario, they also help out covering the games, obviously along with Eddie as well. So I just thank everybody for working on all that together. And we'll keep doing the shows depending on what happens. I mean, like I said, this is like the most interesting team in the NHL because stuff keeps happening. So the more things come out, the more shows we'll have. So stay tuned. Probably be back in a week and a half. And as always, let's go Ducks.